So this past summer, I spent my weeks in a rural agricultural town in Thailand called Phichit. Here, I was responsible for teaching roughly 90 kids how to speak conversational English. And it was during my time here that I was able to be reminded of the inherent curiosity and passion kids have to make the world a better place. And I was able to see firsthand the impact technology can have in making this happen. For my lessons, I used my phone and my laptop to facilitate my teaching, and after school I was hanging out with these kids too, and I started noticing that they were very interested in playing with my phone, so I let them go at it, and almost immediately I noticed that they were able to figure out how to master using my phone just as well as many of me and my peers can today. And at the end of the summer, I recapped the lessons that I taught them. So I recapped the unit where I asked them, what do you guys want to be when you grow up? And initially, I noticed they were telling me things like, oh, I want to stay and work on my farm, or I want to go and work in my parents' shop. And at the end of the summer, I was noticing that after their interaction with technology, they were telling me things like, oh, I want to go be a digital photographer because they'd spent the whole summer playing on my photo apps. They were telling me, oh, I want to travel to France, because during the international lesson, I was showing them pictures of France and places all over the world on Google Images. And they were telling me they wanted to go into technology because they realized that this was an industry that was open and ready for them. And that was amazing for me to see. So my name is Yin Yin Liao.
My name is Eric Higgins.
I'm Kathleen Curry.
And I'm Natalie Urban.
And we are Team Empower. There's actually a fifth member of our team that couldn't make it today. Her name is Taylor. And Taylor is one of many Americans that are born into Generation Z. Now, Generation Z is born to a population where they're known for their mobile technology. They're known for having access to internet to the point where it's almost expected for us. And yet 40% of these households do not have access to high-speed internet. Now, this is in a time when education and technology are being integrated into one. 70% of teachers assign homework that require access to broadband internet. And 50% of these students report an inability to complete these homework due to their lack of internet access. Now, how does this affect girls like Taylor and the Generation Z population that is excluded from having digital access? This increases the homework gap that they're subjected to. And while their peers are doing extracurricular activities or spending time with families, this excluded population is forced to find places where they can complete their homework. This further increases their lack of comfortableness with digital literacy and just further contributes to the poverty cycle that we see today.
T-Mobile attempted to address this problem through their Signature Cause initiative. And as a team, we did a deep analysis of this solution. Although we found many similarities of trying to decrease the homework gap and increase digital literacy, we were left with an overwhelming sense of an old school CSR approach, one which uses individuals like Taylor as a marketable charity cause instead of actually addressing her underlying issues for the lack of digital access. So now I'll walk you through our analysis of T-Mobile's Signature Cause further. The Signature Cause utilizes an online grant application process to distribute technology to low-income communities. We felt like this frames those students and teachers as just another charity cause instead of highlighting all of their accomplishments. In addition, we felt that it was completely unrealistic to expect that the most at-risk communities, the ones without technology or internet access, to be able to complete this online application. Instead, we want T-Mobile to be a proactive equalizer for technology access in the communities who need it most. To develop skill sets and job experience, the Signature Cause brings youth into T-Mobile stores to show them the behind the scenes and operations of the stores. We felt like this does not provide a wide variety of career aspirations for these students. In addition, only impacting 10 students at a time for 90-minute intervals, this plan is highly unscalable. It also does not address the underlying issues for the lack of digital literacy and the homework gap. Instead, we want T-Mobile to empower these students through playing and the creative exploration to develop the skill sets necessary for the job search. The Changemaker Challenge allows students to submit and receive funding for their social causes. But how can we expect these students to be true changemakers in their communities when T-Mobile themselves are not making an active change? This challenge acts as a one-time solution that will have a minimal impact on the communities that they aim to serve. We want T-Mobile to be on the forefront of developing a pipeline towards higher education, one that will have lasting impact, lifelong lasting impact for the individuals who need it most, like Taylor. As you can see, this old school CSR approach of the Signature Cause utilizes individuals like Taylor to support the goals of the large public, private, and social sectors. But we feel that it is time to implement a power hierarchy and instead utilize the assets and infrastructure of these large sectors to support the needs of the individuals. But how does T-Mobile do this? Well, we turn to psychology to see how we can create a shift in perception and a shift in power and perception. By addressing the perceived control that these students feel over their situations, we empower them to make a change. By addressing the homework gap, we provide a certainty that these students will be able to complete their homework assignments on time. And lastly, we want to make sure that these kids and teachers don't feel like just another charity cause. So we will enact a situational reframe, which instead highlights their existing accomplishments. These three key factors led us to our hypothesis that if T-Mobile can provide educational technology to low-income communities, then T-Mobile will empower Generation Z to play and develop the skill sets necessary to become the next generation of changemakers.
Introducing Empower to Play, our way for T-Mobile to charge the minds of the next generation of changemakers. Our approach tackles the three main aspects of T-Mobile's signature cause campaign: affordable access, career exploration, and the Changemaker Challenge, to a more synergistic solution that applies tri-sector benefits for the private, public, and social sectors using the win-win strategy. Our solution starts with a simple supply chain process. T-Mobile customers can bring their old phones to T-Mobile stores and upgrade to the latest and greatest in T-Mobile technology. These old phones are then refurbished on the spot by T-Mobile employees, and then they are picked up by the Boys and Girls Club to distribute to their members. Our solution can be implemented instantly. It'll be sparked with the Empower to Play social media campaign, and then the phones will start being collected by T-Mobile to be distributed to the Boys and Girls Clubs. And so while our solution can be implemented instantly, the effects that it can have on a person's lifetime are long-lasting. So remember Taylor? When Yingyan first introduced her, she's part of Generation Z, the cell phone generation, and she's part of 40% of households that lack internet access. So let's see how our solution can apply to Taylor's story. So now Taylor is 12 years old, and she's entering middle school, and she's so excited to go to the Boys and Girls Club after school every day, because from 3 to 7 p.m., she gets to use her very own smartphone using the internet access that the Boys and Girls Club already has. And there, she's so excited because she's in this safe environment, free from crime and bullying, and it's fostering her learning and education. And so there, she's downloading content from Khan Academy that aligns with her public school's core curriculum. And also, she's participating in activities that Boys and Girls Club mentors are using the My.Future Education, which is an existing subsidiary of the Boys and Girls Club. Through that, she's learning digital literacy skills and exploring her career, from everything from robotics to online journalism. So now Taylor is 16 years old, and she serves as a mentor at the Boys and Girls Club, and she's earned the privilege to finally take her phone home and use the downloaded content from the Boys and Girls Club. And so she's being recognized by T-Mobile and the Boys and Girls Club as a student changemaker, and for that, she gets a scholarship to a public university. So now at her public university, she'll be able to spend her time focusing on her education and searching for her career instead of working a part-time job or being saddled by federal student loan debt. Now, Taylor is 21 years old, the same age as all of us, and she's about to launch her career in science, technology, engineering, arts, or mathematics, and anything that she does as a result of her public education is because of T-Mobile. And because of that, she's an inspiration to her community because she is the face of someone who has helped close the homework gap and shatter the cycle of poverty. So let's recap our solution. T-Mobile customers can bring their phones to T-Mobile stores to upgrade. And then with these upgrades, these phones will be refurbished and sent to the Boys and Girls Club. Then kids can grow and explore using existing nonprofit, educational nonprofits. And then any changes that they help make in society is because of T-Mobile's initial action.
So there were 3 risks and implications that our team considered while developing and defining our solution. One being demand over supply. So initially we thought, how is T-Mobile going to be able to provide enough phones for all of the students that they're impacting? Well, according to the investor fact book and to the case, currently T-Mobile, the amount of customers that are upgrading their phones is 2 times the amount that of the students that they're currently impacting. This leaves enough cushion for any issues in manufacturing or distribution. Second is the quality of the refurbished phone. So T-Mobile can control whether somebody's donating back the latest iPhone 7 or the Samsung, an old version of a Samsung, but what they can control is their current established program with the Boys and Girls Club. So encouraging incentive programs. For example, if we bring back Taylor, let's say she receives 1 point for every meeting that she goes to, and at the end of the month, she has the most points out of all the members there. So she gets the first choice at a quality phone. And we're not trying to do this to give one person a better phone than the other person, but what we can do is provide an incentive for other students to continue coming back to the structured environment and continue learning. The last part of our risk and implications are the structure of our distribution plan. So initially we thought it'd be a complicated process from getting the phones from T-Mobile to the actual locations, but quickly saw with some research that on average, whether a location is in a rural area or a city, the average distance from a T-Mobile store to the club is within 5 miles of one another. So this is a very simple process on both ends and very low cost. So we compared our solution to 2 social progress indicators. First, the social progress index, which is based off of a score of 100. And for the US, currently, the great thing about our solution is that we impact all 3 dimensions which make up this score. So highlighting personal safety. Because students have this incentive to go back to the location and continue advancing their education, they're being exposed to less crime and being exposed to less unstructured environment. Second, highlighting the environmental quality. So because we're refurbishing the phones and reducing waste, the amount of toxins released into the air due to the phones being burned every year is also lessened. Lastly, because students will have an increase in their digital access, they can advance from primary, secondary to tertiary school, thus advancing their education. The second indicator that we compared our solution to was the UN Sustainable Development Goal. So we targeted 2 goals here. One, the work and economic growth. Because more students will be able to advance their education due to the digital access, they will be able to enroll in financial institutions, thus increasing inclusive growth and economic growth. Lastly, reducing inequalities in general. Because students will be able to work in jobs and utilize their skill sets in higher paying jobs, we're reducing inequalities in the income gap and in education in general. So T-Mobile's profitability will come from 2 avenues. One, an increase in service revenue and our minimal costs. For our costs, just because of the low cost it takes to refurbish phones, this will be a very low impact on T-Mobile's net income in general. Second, our champion costs, because we'll be awarding tuition to certain champion students for them to attend a public university. And then for our revenue, because T-Mobile's current customers will have the incentive to donate back their phones, continue upgrading their phones, this will add an additional revenue every year of $4 million. And we aspire that the Boys and Girls Club location can allot their funding so that they can pay for service plans for their students to take the phones home from the location back home to utilize internet access after structured time. So T-Mobile asked for a win-win strategy, and our solution provides an ROI of 148%.
So we had this original strategy that tried to decrease the homework gap and solve digital access. And we wanted to take these 3 core tenets and streamline it to make sure that our core goal is being implemented, which is empowering kids to play. Furthermore, we wanted to make sure that every participant in this strategy ends up a beneficiary. So whether it's the private sector, T-Mobile gaining an ROI of 148%, or capturing this target segment and increasing their brand equity from their most valued customers, or the public sector with schools and increasing the efficiency of Common Core and what teachers can do in and out of the classroom, or the social sector and partnering with Boys and Girls Club to increase their efficiency, we're ensuring that everybody leaves this strategy win-win. So whether it's girls like Taylor who can use digital access to expand their future, or maybe one day the kids in Thailand who can use phones and mobile technology to explore their passions, T-Mobile is positioning themselves as an active change maker in these communities. They're showing the next generation that they don't need to grow up to find greatness, that they don't need to be the next generation of change makers, but that with T-Mobile and digital access, this change can start happening right now. So thank you for listening to our presentation. We'll open the floor to any questions you might have.
2 parts. Do you know that Boys and Girls Club would be amenable to this kind of a partnership? Are they already partnered with other service providers? Have you checked with Boys and Girls Club first? And secondly, how do you get if you are successful, how do you get the word out? How do you market this to AT&T customers so that they know?
So just to repeat your question so that we have it clear, you asked us if Boys and Girls Club and this partnership would be viable, and whether if we checked it, and if we were successful, how could we market this to customers that are not within our current target segment? And I can answer that. And so according to the strategy case that was given to us, under the second strategy, it was listed that Boys and Girls Club is an existing partnership with T-Mobile, and so that's what we utilized to form this partnership and go through this idea. Secondly, if it wasn't given in the case, through our research, we did not find that they had any existing partnerships with other telecom providers, and we are only further providing them with cell phones, so I think it is viable. And in terms of the marketing aspect, I think that we had a social media plan, so we wanted to encourage kids that we were targeting to use these phones and develop digital literacy, and a huge part of this is social media. With Generation Z and even millennials, that's a great way to target segments that maybe aren't within your reach right now. And we wanted to use the hashtag #EmpowerToPlay to encourage kids to share their stories and talk about how maybe getting phones was empowering them and enabling them to go beyond limits that they didn't have already. And so that could be a potential way that we could target AT&T customers or anyone outside of the T-Mobile segment.
Hi, I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about the refurbishment of the devices and the redistribution of those across the Boys and Girls Clubs.
Yeah, so the question was how we would actually refurbish the phones, and what was the second part of it again?
How you distribute them, or just kind of what your thought process was.
Yes, so that was one of our implications, that we thought, okay, it's going to be really complicated to get it from the store to the location, but as I was saying, after we researched, like on average, the distance between the store and the Boys and Girls Club, it's within 5 miles, whether you're in a rural area or a city. So if it were for the Boys and Girls Club picking it up, it would be a very short drive to pick it up, and they could pick it up all at once and distribute it to the members at that location.
And just to kind of add on to that, another potential strategy that we considered was having T-Mobile employees deliver it, because it is such a short distance. And if they were to do this on a monthly basis or some perennial timeline, then this would also ensure that the Boys and Girls Club had T-Mobile employees there to check maintenance problems. Say if a phone had any issue, then there would be T-Mobile employees there ready to address these technological situations.
So I'm Taylor's mom, and I sent her to the Boys and Girls Club because I love that she is taking a cooking class and learning how to be self-sufficient and learn how to cook. And I love that she is getting swimming lessons and working on her health and her safety in the water. And I love that there's a lot of team interaction with her peers, and she's really working on her communication and conflict management skills. How does that balance with time spent on a cell phone?
So I can take that question. So to repeat the question, you're concerned that some of the existing structures in the Boys and Girls Club, such as swimming and cooking and communication with peers, will be impacted through this process. But we actually think that providing technology could accentuate those. So whether it's like watching videos about learning how to swim, or even cooking, like you can download cooking apps to follow recipes and walk you through that process. In terms of communication with her peers, the workshops we envision happening at the Boys and Girls Club would be facilitated by Boys and Girls Club employees, and then they would be in a group environment, so they're actually working with technology with one another, learning with each other and teaching each other, which helps them to learn that like teamwork skills that will help them in the job search later on.
And I just want to add on a little more to that. The My.Future Education, that is already an existing subsidiary of the Boys and Girls Club, and they already have lesson plans laid out for facilitators to lead those activities in digital literacy. So that's something that they're kind of already doing, that we're just helping enhancing, because so many of those activities, you need a phone, or you need a phone to be able to do the activity, so we're providing that medium for them.
Hi. Could you shed a little bit more light about your analysis on the cost to T-Mobile to do the refurbishment of the cell phones?
Yes, so right now we base it off of just the initial, when somebody refurbishes the phone or donates it back, all they have to really do is reset it. So we allotted for the time on the T-Mobile employees end. So we allotted for around $20 an hour, $30 an hour to refurbish the actual phone, and that's how we came to our calculation for the refurbishing costs. And then we counted for the distribution as well, and because it's a low distance, we kind of want to implement already the plan that they have with sending these phones to locations in general and just sending them back to the locations, and then having either the Boys and Girls Club picking them up, or the Boys and Girls Club or the T-Mobile stores distributing them back to them. So it's kind of very low cost just because of the very short distance between both of them.
I don't know this, and I don't know if you've taken a look into this, but my assumption is that when T-Mobile takes in a phone in exchange for a new phone, that they put that phone that they've taken down on the secondary market, and that generates some sort of offset for the cost of the new phone that they are selling to the new provider. So by taking these phones out of the secondary market, what is the financial impact that T-Mobile will see?
I can take that. We initially didn't know that we aren't telecom industry experts, and so we weren't aware that this is something that telephone providers do. Usually they position it as, hey, like, come get a new phone and you give us our old one and we'll just take care of it for you. So but considering that, we were thinking that if we were to implement this plan, we don't have to take 100%. As Natalie mentioned, there is a huge influx of phones being donated. And so maybe if we take a portion of that, that could decrease the revenue that is taken away from T-Mobile using this as a huge revenue stream. So that's one way that we can mitigate that.
Yeah, in addition to that, this sort of charity cause and having T-Mobile customers know that their refurbished phones will be going to a good cause, it will increase the amount of upgrades that occur. So you're actually going to see more phones being donated to refurbishment, which means that we could even take a fraction of those phones for reselling, and it wouldn't have that big of an impact on the revenue streams of T-Mobile.
Okay, if there's no more questions, let's give Team B a round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you.
And in third place, the University of Maryland, Robert Smith.